Hello, and welcome back to more unsettling Elder Scrolls lore. Today we are going over the 8 monster children of Vivec and Molag Bal. Now this part of the lore is pretty messy, and, Vivec is known to be a giant liar, so take everything with a grain of salt. But anyways, it's very interesting, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. The monster children of Vivec and Molag Bal are a race of super monsters, said to have been born from the union of the two deities, known as the Pomegranate Banquet. They were said to have originally numbered in thousands. They are mostly written of in the 36 lessons of Vivec, though where is other evidence for at least some of them actually existing. These creatures are present in many pieces of Dunmari folklore. Despite most of them having been supposedly slain, members of the race were rumored to exist in the Molag Amur region of Vardenfell. One example of this supposedly still existent population may be the Ruddy Broodmother, a land dreg, who lived in the region and had speculated links of the offspring of Vivec and Bal. The warrior poet was approached by the Daedric prince Molag Bal of the House Troubles, who made his presence and intentions known. Vivec let the Daedra lord know that if they were to marry, he would prefer a ceremony of sorts. The king responded with pomegranates, springing from the Badlands, and a group of Chimer mystics came and read off scriptures for the occasion. Vivec informed Molag that the whole of him could not stay the whole time, and that he could have his head for only an hour, and he still had more wisdom to impart of the Hortator Nerevar. Before his head departed, the warrior poet spoke 2 poems to the Lord of Damnation, and Molag Bal in turn gave a new word of power to Vivec, Kime, the secret lullaby of royalty. This marriage produced a race of super monster children, with these sons and daughters of Molag Bal and Vivec numbered in the thousands. The union took place on the Daedric ruin of Bal-Ur, the supposed birthplace of Molag Bal, where the doom drum Lorcan had tricked Molag Bal into becoming mortal. After 80 days of his body laying with Molag Bal, during which time Molag filled Vivec's feet with Daedra blood, and Pomegranate Banquet brought many spirits back from the dead, so that the sons and daughters of the union had much to eat besides fruit. Vivec's head had returned to assess the situation. Vivec noticed his body was tenderly used and pointed this out, to which Molag Bal responded his love was accidentally shaped like a spear. Vivec bit new words into Molag Bal's spear so it would rot out more than ruin. Disaster was struck when the Chimer, demons, and monsters who bore witness to this took out their spears and imitated this biting, which caused the earth to crack and spawned a new race that was born of the biters, that were terrible and caused destruction. Vivec, however, had learned a new secret from Molag Bal. When he had bitten him, thus was able to change his own spear into a more terrible thing. Vivec named his new spear Muatra, meaning milk taker. Muatra had the ability to turn anyone Vivec touched with it barren and withered into bones. Vivec, on the sight of Bal-Ur, attacked the king of rape, Molag Bal, and sent him tumbling into the crack of the biters, banishing him back to oblivion. Vivec then wielded Muatra with fury and hunted down and destroyed the biters and their progeny, and the event was concluded. Moon Axel was one of the 8 monster children from the unholy union of Molag Bal and Vivec, who initially escaped being slain. Moon Axel was made of many straight lines, though none would last too long. While Moon Axel was not the mightiest of Vivec's children, he was the most worrisome according to Vivec. He was immune to spears, so Vivec had to use the sword, not held, instead of Muatra. Vivec wounded Moon Axel heavily with the sword, and in order to finish the monster, switched to his giant form and reached into the west to pull out a canyon. Vivec held the canyon like a horn, reached east to grab a handful of Nixhounds, and then blew the souls of the Nixhounds through the canyon, making a terrible noise that weakened Moon Axel to the point where Vivec could finally kill it with Muatra. The Treasure Wood Sword was one of the 8 monster children from the unholy union of Molag Bal and Vivec, who initially escaped being slain. The Treasure Wood Sword found itself in the possession of the clan Rathim, of the Chimer, House Mora. Vivec demanded that the house return the treasure sword to him, lest they face his wrath, to which a Bonewalker of House Mora stated they would not return the sword, in part due to a bargain with the Daedric prince Mephala. Vivec, unpleased with this, employed the services of the Morag Tong. They proceeded to purr the sermons, destroy the house and clan in its entirety. The king of assassins of the Molag reported the assassination of the prince house of Mora himself to Vivec, and presented the warrior poet with the treasure wood sword. Horde Mountain was one of the 8 monster children from the unholy union of Molag Bal and Vivec, who initially escaped being slain. 3 former minor Khmer houses helped subdue Horde Mountain for Vivec. The warrior poet was overjoyed by this and consolidated these 3 houses into a new order. His personal guard, the buoyant armigers. Vivec then pierced the Horde Mountain with Muatra, killing it. The living god then dispersed the bones to form a new city for him and his armigers. Vivec City, City of Swords. Almalexia blessed the city with her ordinators to serve as its honor guard, and Sothasil blessed the holy city with a protective spell. The Pocket Cabal was one of the 8 monster children from the unholy union of Molag Bal and Vivec, who initially escaped being slain. It is said to have hidden itself in the spell lists of the great Chimeri wizards of the extreme east, which later became the House Telvanni. Vivec ventured to slay the monster, but the tenuous sense fabric he wore drew out a giant bug. Inside the insect was the most powerful eastern wizard, who scolded Vivec for creating the monster. In retaliation, Vivec stabbed the wizard through his soul. The monster was eventually destroyed by Vivec, who contained it in a dome-head demon. Sothasil was fascinated by the creature and asked Vivec if he may treasure it. Vivec gifted them it, but warned Set never to release it into the middle world. Readyman. The Readyman was one of the 8 monster children from the unholy union of Molag Bal and Vivec, who initially escaped being slain. They are said to have battled Vivec twice according to the teachings of the Tribunal Temple. He is a carapace who gives power to those who wear him, although he is sometimes considered a dreg, or an aspect of Molag Bal worshipped by the dregs. The Readyman endures a symbol of fear in Dunmer culture. According to the temple, the Readyman was created when a Velothi child from Nisus found a dead carapace. Supposedly, Molag Bal's old image from a long ago when he ruled Mundus as chief of the Dreg Kings. Wanting to scare his village, the child wore the carapace, and the Readyman was formed. Vivec did battle with the monster at the Coal Cave site near Nisus, creating the West Gash region of Vardenfell. It is said that the sounds of battles still echo in the region. Vivec was victorious, and went to give the carapace to the Dregs, who had once modified his mother. However, their leader, the Queen of Dregs, was in a period of self-incubation. Her wardens took the carapace from Vivec in her stead and promised to safeguard it. But this is the first recorded account of the Dregs being liars. Instead, the Dreg imbued the living armor with mythic inflexibility. The Readyman appeared again 10 years later, at Tyr, this time worn by a wayward shaman of the House of Troubles. After defeating him a second time, Vivec gave the carapace to the devout and loyal mystics of the Number Room, who made it into a philosopher's armor. The Shrine of Valor was set up in Coal Cave by the temple, and served as part of the pilgrimage of the 7 Graces. Pilgrims were told that the Readyman was the father of all dregs, and that Vivec spared his life if he and his children agreed to give up their tough hides as armor for the Dunmer. A dreg known as the Ruddy Broodmother began terrorizing the roads around Molag Mar, killing pilgrim and buoyant armiger alike. The Ruddy Broodmother made its lair within the Dredurai glass mine, which the Erebonesium knew as ancient dreg spawning grounds. The vestige, with the help of a group of Ashlanders, drew it out of hiding and slew it. A pilgrim who survived the incident and fled into an ancestral tomb believed the creature to be the mythical Readyman, though Ashlanders denied its existence, claiming that the Broodmother was simply a powerful and cunning dreg. The buoyant armigers considered the thought of the beast being the Readyman borderline heresy. The captain of the buoyant armigers at the time suggested that if the Ruddy Broodmother truly was related to the creature of legend, that it might be a lesser creature, cut from the same cloth as the Readyman. Cityface, originally known as Ha-Note, was one of the 8 monster children born from the unholy union of Molag Bal and Vivec, who initially escaped being slain. The Grabbers, the mysterious beings of the adjacent palace, who had never built a city of their own, grew jealous of Vivec's marvelous city, and therefore transformed Ha-Note into the being known as Cityface. Vivec, in an act of subterfuge, corrected the error of the monstrous city of the Grabbers. but then stabbed Cityface with the ethos knife, killing him. The act of Vivec killing Cityface with the ethos knife inspired the creation of the buoyant armager's daggers. Cityface was described as similar to the nomindium of the Dwemer. Lie Rock was born of Vivec's second aperture. That is to say, Lie Rock was essentially dung extracted from Vivec. Lie Rock was removed from the pomegranate banquet from a forgotten guild known as the Sweeps. Lie Rock escaped the clutches of the Sweeps and ascended to the heavens, claiming his divine parentage made him invited to the hidden heaven. This hidden heaven realm was known as the Scaled Blanket and housed the Void Ghost. Vivec sent Nerevar to the heavens with the named axe to shave Lie Rock asunder, but the Hortator only encountered the Void Ghost, and the two masters engaged in conversation. Lie Rock used this distraction to launch an attack on the city god Vivec. The inhabitants of Vivec screamed in terror as they saw the shooting star hurling towards the city out of the sky, but Vivec merely raised his hand and froze Muatra right above the city and pierced it, with Muatra killing it. Nerevar returned from the heavens and saw the frozen comet looming over the city and asked Vivec if it should be removed, to which Vivec responded, "I would have done so myself if I wanted, silly Hortator. I shall keep it there with its last intention intact, so that if the love of the people of this city for me ever disappear, so shall the power that holds back their destruction." Nerevar said, "Love is under your will only," which pleased Vivec, and he informed Nerevar that he had become a minister of truth. Various other tales for the celestial rock exists, such as it being flung from the heavens by the mad god Sheol-Gorath, who was bored and wished to destroy Vivec city, as the Daedric prince felt the city was built in mockery of the heavens. Citizens of Tamriel prayed unanswered prayers to the divines and Daedric princes alike to stop the rock's fall, but only the prayers to the blessed living gods were heard. Vivec raised his hand and stopped the descent of Moonlit. Bar Deo itself pledged eternal servitude to the tribunal thereafter and guarded over the palace of Vivec, and served as a citadel for the ordinators. Another account claimed it was a Magna Gi named Una. Una became separated from her kin as they fled to Aetherius, and so Una instead chose companionship with Nirn, and thus chose to nestle in close in Vardenfell, right above Vivec city, where neither Una nor Nirn would feel alone again. One orcish tale claims that Bar Deo is not the dung of Vivec, as the sermons claim, but rather the dung of Malakath, who defecated on the city of the living god for the disrespect to Malakath's beloved ogre children, as Vivec had said something about the goblin ken that angered Malakath, and also done battle with the flute and pipe ogres of West Gash. Yet another scholarly account claimed that Bar Dao was not a rock, but rather an egg, specifically the chrysalis from which would one day hatch and the final monster of Vivec and Molag Bal's ill-fated union that Vivec would engage in a glorious battle with. Gulaga Morgil was one of the 8 monsters and most powerful of the monster children from the unholy union of Molag Bal and Vivec, who initially escaped being slain. He was said to be the mightiest, and his name is a string of power. Unlike the other children, Gulg Morgil showed no violent nature or intent to harm others, and accepted his death peacefully. His bones went on to lay the foundations of Necrom, and the runes on his tusks were transcribed into the Fulcrum Obscura. Following their birth, Vivec would go on to neutralize his monster children, and after freezing his 7th child Lie Rock above his palace, he went to the Provisional House and looked into the middle world to find the 8th and final monster, Gulga Morgil. In the Provisional House, Nerevar saw a vision of Talos that Vivec told him about earlier. Nerevar asked Vivec why he also was so evasive, to which Vivec said, that to be otherwise was to betray his nature. Together, Nerevar and Vivec went to a village near where Vivec had first been found by Aam and Set as an egg, where Gulga Morgil was located. Unlike the other children, he did not act much like a monster, sitting with his legs in the ocean, with a troubled look on his face. When he saw Vivec, he asked why he should have to die and return to oblivion. Vivec told Gulga that to be otherwise was to betray his nature. This did not seem to satisfy the monster, so Vivec, channeling the mercy that Almalexia possessed, spoke a poem about how the all-consuming fire would make a secret door to the void of Padhome, where those who would die would be safe and looked after in the house of Boethia. This was the same poem Vivec had read to comfort his mother, Berizik. With a peaceful look on his face, Gulga Morgil accepted his fate, and after being killed by Muratara, his bones became the foundation for the city of the dead, Nekrum. Nerevar then asked Vivec why he asked him to come if he knew the 8th monster would give in so easily. Vivec looked at him for a long time, and Nerevar understood, concluding, "Do not betray your nature. Answer as you will." Vivec said he brought Nerevar because he knew the mightiest of his issue would succumb to Muratara without argument and given consolation beforehand. They looked at each other again for a long time, and Nerevar now understood, telling Vivec he was now the mightiest of his children. Vivec would then pen this account in a sermon, written as the consolation to those who read it that are destined to die, foreshadowing his betrayal and possible murder of Nerevar. I always found this bit of Morrowind lore very interesting yet weird, because what do you mean Vivec married Molag Bal, laid with him for 80 days, and had 8 children with him? Which, in fact, none of them are really children. One's a set of lines, the other's a mountain, and I don't know. It's weird, it's wonky, I love it, but anything that comes out of Vivec's mouth you have to take with a grain of salt. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.